Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you join me for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together. We just ask for your wisdom as we do the people's business, and we thank you for the freedoms to do that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Any public comment on agenda items before we get started? Hearing none, we'll jump right into soil and water. You guys are first.
Good afternoon, council. Oh, yeah, hey, y'all. Council, good to see y'all, and I appreciate your service. I know there's a lot of things you could be doing, but you've dedicated part of your lives to this county, and I'm Kenny Kane. I'm the historian, cheerleader for soil and water. We have a long history. Back in the 40s we started it. But tonight I'm going to turn it over to our board. I want to thank Joyce, by the way. She comes to every board meeting. She knows if you have any questions on what's going on. And I'd like to turn it over to our chairman, Jordan Gillenwater. And then after that, Raoul Moore, any questions, just let her rip. Thank you.
Okay, guys, so what questions do we have? Or let's get right down to it.
He's our chairman, by the way.
Yep.
I guess if you could just highlight what increases you have in your budget and the reason.
Excuse me, I couldn't.
The increases from last year's budget and the reason for them?
Yeah, so really our only increases in here are our wages or salaries. We've got 2 full-time employees, and part of that, a lot of that is actually looking at the compensation study that we were able to look through there a couple of months ago here. We're looking at just a much-needed raise for these people. Like I said, this is quite a lot of work actually for 2 people. They're both college educated, experience here, and like I said, the one position particularly is we're in the 30,000s, low 30s still on, and that just we've got a lot of quality work we really want to do. We have quite a bit of federal and state money coming through our office, and we don't want to spend all our time training new people, rolling over with turnover, working with salaries like that. So that's a lot of what we've been talking about anyway, something we've been kind of mulling around for a few years now, and then after going through the study, that's where we are. I believe that is the external midpoint for the program coordinator, and on our other position, the conservation director, that is actually the minimum to be exempt from overtime. So that's kind of, and that position is exempt right now. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
It only works for you, Tom. We know that you're looking for a new director. How is that search going?
So we went ahead and were able to offer that to someone last week. They've accepted. They have some experience in the conservation realm, so we're going to hit the ground running with them here next month. So,
Good.
Yeah, we're happy about that. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to build on that a little bit. We've been struggling to keep a director, Christian Lasky. She was here last year, and we just can't continue to have a revolving door for district staff. Sam LeVold is our program coordinator. He's the education piece. this resource, this soil and water, gentlemen and ladies, it's important. And we need the dollars to bring in the dollars. We're one, the Indiana Association of Soil and Water Conservation District is just one partner in the Indiana Conservation Partnership. With this money, we leverage what we get here, we leverage by bringing in NRCS funds, Farm Service Agency funds, 319 grant monies. The monies and just a brief history, 319 grant monies that came in back in the day when Pullman, you all remember Pullman and all the issues with fish in the creek dying, we stopped that. We tested the water coming in, water going out. Okay? We have done this. And the waterways, the Conservation Reserve Program has paid for conservation practices that the farmer and the landowner just couldn't do without the help. So, Raul, you got anything?
Yeah, Sugar Creek's a gem.
If you could come up to the microphone, please. We're doing a video recording as well.
So Sugar Creek's a gem. People come from California to go fly fishing on Sugar Creek. A lot of what goes through our office increases water quality, but change is hard, especially people don't want to change, and especially farmers really don't want to change. So we're change agents. We try to get people to move a little bit. I'm fairly new on the board. It blew my mind when I found out that we used to pay people to put in drainage tile because, well, that's not going to work. And that change occurred partly because we facilitated, show people the other way. So we have to pay for quality people. We want to keep them. We're not competitive. That study he mentioned was a comparative of all the soil and water conservation districts, and a lot of the counties contiguous us are paying significantly more money. So thanks.
Thank you. All right, Purdue Extension.
Good evening. So I only have two changes to my budget that from last year. So the first one is our contractual service, which is what you use to pay for Purdue Extension to be here in the county. So it's for service delivery. It provides a professional development for us, IT, program delivery, all of those things. It also provides you access to a federal grant through the SNAP Ed dollars, which provides us with the nutrition education program. And so that's a position that's completely here through that federal grant. So there's a little increase in that. And then otherwise, there's an increase in our office manager salary that I put what I was told to put of the 3%. So that's all I got.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Health Department. Oh, there you are.
Good evening. So with my health fund budget, it only went up $7,229 from last year. I took some of this stuff out of there and put it into my HFI funds, but then I did leave some of it. So there is an increase of $7,000 from last year. Really, my biggest is the Health First Indiana budget. We were actually going to receive $825,000 this year. Instead, we got $827,000. So with that, I have to show, with the money coming from the state, I have to show it all spent. Whether I spend it or not, I have to show it. And I did print off how the state wants us to, or how we had to submit it for everybody, if you'd like a copy of it. We'll continue our support with the drug-free coordinator. We'll also continue our support with mobile integrated health. it was really hard spending $827,000. So, but we also are going to be partnering with Montgomery County Free Clinic, which is over on Mill Street, in supporting maternal health and immunizations. Purdue Extension, we are going to help support them. I'm not real sure what that looks like. Monica and I've had some conversation, but not a whole lot of conversation on it. And then the schools and the youth summit, and so that's really what I've got. And like I said, if you'd like a copy of this Health First Indiana budget and how I have to show it spent and submitted, I can provide that. Okay. Yeah, I brought copies.
Microphone.
So, do any of these funds help out with mental health?
So actually, yes. So Mobile Integrated Health, of course, does.
Okay,
And also, our youth summit that we have twice a year, we have one for the high schools, for all three of the county schools. We also have one for the middle schools, and that is always about mental health. But we partner with Wabash College, 3 high schools, the Wellness Coalition. So that's all together. And then the Wabash guys take the information and they turn it into data for us. But the last 2 or have we had, oh, Monica's gone. I think this was our 3rd one we had in '24. Mental health and all of them have been a big thing with the middle school kids and putting programs in place. It has to start somewhere, and it's going to start with our kiddos.
yeah.
I mean,
So
really,
is it primarily geared for education? It's- Nothing goes
so-
toward treatment or,
No, we
Okay.
don't have those funds to go toward, we are a point of care
yeah,
contact, but to provide that kind of care, we don't. But I did create a hardship fund, just FYI. That's something that the state let us do. I did put in money for a hardship fund, so it's not something I could continuously support somebody if they needed help with a mental health problem, but it is something that potentially I could provide maybe the first 1 or 2 expenses of them going to see somebody, and then hopefully they have some money saved and by then and can, try it. So I put this hardship fund in place for several different reasons.
Okay.
So mental.
Didn't Valley Oaks apply for a $60,000 or $70,000 grant?
They have, but I don't know if they've heard back on it yet. So, but I still think that there's even still possibly a fee attached to that, maybe on a sliding fee scale. But I want to be, if somebody needs help right then, right there, and they can get into, whether it be a doctor or a psychologist, right then, right there, I want to be able to help that individual do that. It's not something I would be able to continue to do until they were done with their treatment, of course, but I at least want to be able to help them with the initial, if I can, so.
so have you got a program in place to see how effective the education is going to be? I mean, you're starting at square one here this year, right, with a lot of the education and things? Do you have a way to look at it, let's say a year from now, and say, okay, what's it actually doing? Is it doing what we intend it to do? Is it helping kids? I mean, you have those in place?
Yes, we do have that. So now the first year, it's been three years ago, I think. The first year, we only were able to bring Crawfordsville on board.
Yeah,
This past, then the year after, I think it was Crawfordsville and South. We had 2024, we had Crawfordsville South and North kids. So with that, they have started programs amongst themselves So the girls have started a program for, things that are going on in the girls' lives, that they can all share with. So it is a support group. It's an after-school support group. The boys have also created one, and then, now this is at Crawfordsville, and then I know that they've created one also where both boys and girls go to, and that's in the middle school and the high school levels. North Montgomery, I believe that they've done the same, but we do get the information. I do know that they have support groups with the students. That's what the students wanted to do. So it really is taking the data, seeing what it is that the students want to incorporate, what's important to them, and letting them, within reason, be able to do it. So, we do get that information. Wabash College, actually, we don't even get to be part of the questions. Wabash College sits down at each table, a student does, because they're closer to age with them, and they go over the material, or they go over and they ask questions, or they just let the students start talking, and that's how they come up with the information. And then we let the schools know, the schools get copies of the data, and they are starting programs with it, yeah.
Because, next year, that'd be some of my questions. Talk to me about the data. What's it telling you? Okay?
Yeah, I have 2024's data, or 23's data, back in my office. I just didn't bring it.
That's
I
fine.
didn't know that that would be a question.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that's a big question, this is a lot of money, and
Right.
the commissioners are gonna ask that question whether they continue to.
Okay, so you're talking with the HFI funds?
Yeah.
With the HFI funds, yes, we are collecting data.
Okay.
So the Indiana State Health Department has a site where we are constantly, it has all of our categories in it of the core services. And so every month, we're uploading data, whether it's something that we've done or one of our community partners. What is hard is there are several community partners that do the same thing. So trying to pull in all that information or getting the community partners to share that information. Now, Mobile Integrated Health and Diamond are doing great at sending us information each month so that we can put it in there. But the more we can put in there, the more we can show what our county is doing in regards to all of the core services.
Yeah,
So-
I'm good with that, as long as you're doing it.
Yeah, we
Kind
are.
of know where I'm
Yeah,
headed
yeah,
next
we
year.
are.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks. Appreciate it.
yeah, you're welcome.
With all this increase in what the health department's going to be involved in, and I know there's grants to pay for it, but is there going to be any local taxpayer additional costs or burden to help administrate this?
So.
Is that going to affect your rate, your levy?
So I am, with the HFI funds, I don't know how to explain this, Dan. You did a really good job at explaining this 20%. Part of us opting into the HFI funds was that the county does agree to pay the 20%, because they want to see that the county is vested. I did not get any tax levy money last year, but I believe I am for 25, but I don't know how much, so.
Yeah, the way I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, it can supplement, but it can't take over everything. So we did not have a rate last year for health, but we will this year. It'll be smaller than it has been in the past, but we can't completely pay everything out of the GPHC. It has to be just a supplemental.
Thank you, Bindi.
Any other questions for Adrian? Nope.
We good?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
all right, Thank you.
Looks like Sherry's up next.
Good evening. The biggest thing that's changed for the center's budget from '24 to '25 will be that the 4,900 fund
will be empty. There'll be $0 in that, so the budget did go up a little bit, just like everything else in the world, unfortunately. I have nothing really special or important to say tonight. It is just kind of what it is. We have currently 13 dispatchers out of 16 positions, and 7 of those are a year or less experience. So we're struggling, to say the least. But on the other side of that, that's less dollars. So.
Any questions for Sherry?
We discussed about labor and the number of people that in your office, challenges to keep a full staff. And you talked about working on some kind of a different staffing program for the number of people on duty.
We are currently looking at automated dispatch. Is that what you're referring to? The discussion you and I had?
4 people on.
4 on days and 4 on both days, day crews, and 3 on night crews. Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah, and if you went to that, that changed the number of people you need?
Well, it would take it down to 14. If I could keep 14, yes. If I could have 14 that were competent, yes. I think it would be. We did, just last week, we ran statistics for day and nighttime calls. That's a 5A to 5P and 5P to 5A, and it's about half. Half the telephone ringing, half of the calls for service. It's busy usually from 3 to 11 at night. So you're talking about 2 different shifts. Then typically, if everybody's behaving after midnight or 1, depending on what time of the year it is, it becomes very quiet. If you have a call between midnight and 5, it's going to be a big one. So I think it is Gary, but that's not my total decision. So I would be happy if I had 14. It doesn't mean that we can't even get 14 people that want to come to work every day and want to, progress in the job. So it's just a battle all the time. Do I think 16 is necessary? No, I don't.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.
Looks like mapping's next.
Good evening, Council. Mike Davis with the Mapping Department. I don't get up here and get to talk to you very much about any of this. As far as our budget goes, the only thing we increased was the salaries by 3%, like you asked us to do. My budget this year is $21,000, which is $1,000 less than last year, little budget. All of my items that I have here are all revenue-based. Tom Klein has been working with the city on our GIS services, and we've got that increase from a $10,000 per year to $20,000 this year. So that's helped a lot in those cases. So if you've got any questions, I'm here to answer them if I can.
So the revenue fees you bring in offset your operating expenses, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and the budget right now for the mapping department is like $68,000 as far as what we have in there right now. I'll never spend this money in here that I've got budgeted. We created these back when we started the mapping department because we didn't know what we would need for sure, and we've just kind of continued. I think I spent like $6,000 last year when you include $4,000 in aerial photography, so we don't spend much money at all. But glad to answer any questions if you have.
Just to add to the agreement we have with the city, so the city's agreed to provide $20,000. That'll go into the, not the general fund, but the other funds. So we'll come back for an additional appropriation for that. But was our intent also to reduce the contribution from dispatch for his department by 10,000. So that was going to be a shift from what dispatch pays for his department to the city increasing it by 10. So you'll see an adjustment. At some point, we'll take care of both of those items.
So,
Okay.
Tom, why does dispatch pay part of his salary? I had that question.
That's a great question.
Mark's got his hand up.
Yeah.
Mark,
I'll let somebody else answer that because I wasn't here.
The original 911 addressing went to the 911 center and Beth Sessions at the time. So Beth Sessions did all the addressing for the county. Mike, you chime in. And so at the time, that's kind of where the GIS was born to that department because they had ArcGIS, not ArcGIS, what did they have in there?
yeah, it was ARC.
It was ARC, they had ArcGIS in there, so that's kind of how the county's GIS was born through that department, so. For several years, Mike was paid by the building department and paid by dispatch for the services that he did for dispatch, building out those layers on their software, so that's the reason it's been that way. I mean, we did 2 vouchers back then. One voucher was from the general fund, the other was through 911 to another account. I don't know how they do it now, but that's what we did back then. So that has changed since they changed the mapping, the makeup of the mapping department, but that's why that line is in there.
If that makes sense. And obviously, Mark was the boss at that time, so all that stuff come through him, yeah, at that time.
Is that the way it needs to be, I guess is my question? So it should be? Is that the way it should be?
I've kind of questioned this myself because in the general fund, it shows my salary is 55, whatever it is, when 18 or 28 or whatever it was comes out of Sherry's budget too. I don't know how that works.
To explain.
It's kind of showing like I'm getting paid twice, almost.
It has to be done that way with our financial system, just listing it twice in the budget because one reimburses the other. But if you were to ask me if that needed to be done, in my opinion, all the work he used to do back then was mainly for CCC. I mean, the half of it was mainly for CCC. Now he does a ton of stuff for the sheriff and a bunch of different departments. So it makes no sense to me at all that he's paid or reimbursed by CCC, my 2 cents.
And that's why we worked to get the city's agreement increased so we could decrease dispatch so there'd be less impact on the dispatch budget.
Any
other
other
questions?
questions?
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Guys.
Veterans, hang on.
Veteran Services budget is, Joe's not here tonight, so I told him I would do it. It's really easy. It's the same budget as this year, except with a 3% increase for Joe's salary. And if you guys remember, in the '24 budget, we did change Joe from part-time to full-time.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? All right. Come on up, Jessica.
I had a few changes this year. We lost grant funding. All EMs across the state have lost grant funding. It's not coming from the federal anymore to dwindle down to us. So we used to get $15,000 in an EMPG grant for conferences. No longer getting that, so I increased my travel line to attend one conference by $5,000. And then used to get EMPG for our mass notification system. We're no longer getting that. We didn't get that last year either. I just happened to take from salaries last year. I did an additional, or a transfer from salaries last year and covered that amount. So added that line in this year, and our sirens, our outdoor tornado sirens are aging and will be needing to be replaced soon. And we don't have any that need replaced right this second, but it was recommended by council and by Tom that I add that line item in there for that amount. And this budget has been approved by my advisory council.
Any questions for Jessica?
Is this loss of grants, is that going to continue? Is that,
So I'm thinking, right now, it's very health-driven. All the grants are heading that way. Now, with all of the weather that we've been getting in Indiana and the tornado activity, I'm thinking in a few years it's going to switch back and we'll start getting some grant funding again. That's my hope.
Any plans on adding more of the tornado sirens or anything?
So actually, I just had a citizen come to me maybe 2 weeks ago. He'd previously talked to John about a new addition out that Ratcliffe built. And so I've been checking if there's like a state law that there's so many people and we have to have a siren. I don't think we have a county ordinance of that. So potentially, I guess is the answer.
When you added this 15,000 for the sirens, how many sirens will that replace?
One.
Woo. That's not very. No.
Yeah, and so we don't pay for all the sirens in the county. We have county-owned sirens, city-owned sirens, and the small towns also handle their own sirens. We facilitate all of it. We have the serviceman go out. We just don't pay the invoice. And I've had one replaced and 2 serviced for the city in the last 3 months. Thankfully, the city already had 1 siren, so that cost was not there. But just to have it even a siren that the city had already paid for, put up was $6,500.
Sounds like I need to go in the siren business.
Yeah, that has.
is that something that you could share with Mike? Because he has aerial photography as well, do they fly different?
No, so it's all the same thing. We all pay that same, we split it amongst all of us in the county.
I thought it sounded pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Not just one budget item somewhere.
So they're gonna fly it this year, is that what the plan is?
On the aerial photography, just a heads up too, since we have a lot of people in here that pay for that, there's been an increase, so.
And I did get grant funding for that last year, but again, that grant is no longer there.
Expect an email tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, so when you say the grants aren't available, we're applying for them, or they're just not available?
They're just not available.
Is that right?
Yeah, they did away with them without warning. The one that they did warn us about, which isn't a huge difference, it'll be about $5,000 that we're unable to get, is we are partially funded through the state on a grant. And so that grant is decreasing by 10%. So.
Seems like the budget's going towards health.
It is.
Seems to be shifted.
It's a nationwide thing, so.
It appears as though it was increased 2 years ago, and the numbers that we were given were not accurate in the email. I just got a phone call today, so look for an update. It's closer to $50-some thousand a year now.
So we need to adjust some of this then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 10. A little over.
What?
I just talked to the representative yesterday. He didn't say anything about a raise, so I want to check into it for sure. Because the contract was for 3 years.
I was going to say it was a 3-year contract. We signed into a contract, I thought.
For 6 years.
Yeah, like I said, just got a phone call today, and the invoice said over 50,000, and when we all paid our just about 4,000, he's looking for more money. I haven't had any time to research it, so. Okay, I appreciate it, because Sherry's out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody good?
Anything else?
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
thanks, Jessica. Building department and maintenance.
hurry up and get rid of me so you can talk about the fund budgets, right? Really, the biggest change and the only major change is we are adding a code enforcement / part-time inspector line to the building department budget for 2025. I set that salary based on your exterior low. So that's the main change to the budget there. The remainder of the budget in the building department and maintenance is just, every year it seems like our elevator costs go up. Every year things go up. So the only changes in there are some percentage upgrades from last year on vendors that we pay to do maintenance, on county buildings. So we have elevators, we have to have the boilers inspected, we have fob systems, we have security systems. So anyway, we have a lot of different vendors on there, including ARAB, spraying all the buildings for bugs and doing the main exterior twice a year. So every year those go up a little bit. So other than that, the biggest change is the addition of the code enforcement part-time inspector. Now that person is going to be responsible for some of the ordinances that may not get as much work as they need, like nuisance and junk car and things like that, as well as zoning ordinance. So, and when we are busy, which we are right now, we're running 6-7 inspections a day because of Nucor right now. We're at 2 locations at Nucor. So it would be nice to have that assistant inspector for a couple reasons: sicknesses, vacations, as well as code enforcement. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Actually, that curve is starting to turn back down right now. But, there's a lot of small projects in this county, even to go along with the big projects that are out there, and more coming. We have an implement company that's looking to locate, they're in review right now for drainage. We've got another equipment company that's in review right now. So there's things that are happening, things that are going. I'd be happy to let you know on any of those if you want it at any time. But there's a lot going on. So having that assistant inspector would be nice. So it is.
Is that gonna take another truck, another office?
Well, we've got the office, we've got the internals, but a vehicle is going to be important, yes.
I'd hate for him to start out walking.
And I believe maybe it might be in the budget for 2025. So. All right, anything else?
Anything else? Thanks, Mark. All right, Jake.
Mark's doing a lot of things our engineer would be doing.
Good evening. So we'll start with Cume Bridge. This used to be separated in between engineering and highway, but since we don't have an engineer, that was reduced to one budget. You'll see that budget decreased 1.3 million. We got 3 federal aids that are coming up that we need to build our fund balance up to make up for the match. Local road and street, 1169. This increased 60 grand. That's going to go for crack sealing. We've been drawing the fund balance down on that account. This should be, if revenue and expenditures all line up, this should be the last year that we can draw down fund balance. MVH restricted 1173. That was decreased by 396,000. The fund balance is getting pretty low. I try to keep 25% fund balance, just you never know when something's gonna flood, get destroyed, whatever. So since that fund was drawing down fund balance to that 25%, a lot of that was moved to 1176, the other MVH. And that increased 692,000. That has a 3% raise and everything basically from 1173. That's a 3,000-foot view.
How do you shake out on the engineer? Need an engineer, don't need an engineer, or are you at on that?
we pretty much took the roles and responsibilities. There's a lot that Mark deals with and some of the commissioners that I don't see, but from my end on highway, I think we're okay. I feel like I'm doing a decent job. Tom's taken over some roles that was PEX, past engineer. I've taken on some other roles. I feel like we've met those, so I think we're okay with it. But I know there's others that utilize him in different spots.
Okay. Thanks.
How are you doing with staffing, with the CDL issues and things like
I'm 2 truck
that?
drivers short. If everything else pans out, I'll be 3 truck drivers short if I move some people around. I have 2 truck drivers and 1 office personnel.
Okay.
I think we'll be good on fuel. I think we're good on everything. I've got some salaries I can move around if I could get in a pinch, but I think I'm good for the rest of the year as far as additionals and. Yep.
You can say Mother Nature always has a vote.
Don't you even say that. But yeah, I mean, we're getting close on some lines, but I think we can rob Peter to pay Paul on a few stuff, if need to. We always need to do more. You know, I gave that presentation when you guys. I increased some of it a little bit, not a lot, but I think so. I think we'll be all right.
So how much short are you on what you need?
2.2 million.
We got some last year.
Right. So we're still tracking that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mindy, but like wheel tax is basically 3 months behind. Once you guys put that into place, we're 3 months behind seeing that revenue come in. So we're not going to get a complete, accurate how much wheel tax went up or what it generated till March of next year, basically.
So did that wheel tax help you?
A little bit goes a long way, but it helped a lot.
Okay.
Yep. But we're still, like I said, I think it generated, if my math was right, 200,000. You know, so we're 2 million still short.
That was just for the first half of the year, though, right?
Well, we're 3 months behind. So that's not a completely accurate number because we won't know the full extent.
Any other questions?
Keeping up with hiring? I mean, you said you had 3, maybe 4.
Three, if everything shakes out, we'll have 3 openings. I got 1 okay application, the others not so much, but we need bodies, especially going into winter. I do believe I have a guy that's interviewing. I think he actually had an interview today. Just lost a guy 3 weeks ago for IMI. So I think there'll be some more coming. I don't know if I'll be able to keep that process.
Does that help you with winter months because construction slows down?
No, it kills me.
It does.
That's our hardest time. We, you know,
Drivers want the guy.
mainly, you know, 6 to 4:30 out the door, Monday to Thursday, volunteers on Friday. It's a normal job. Wintertime, you're on call. I mean, you're on call anyway, 24/7, but, you know, you work 16 hours, you go home for 4. You can't fall asleep because you're wound up. You haven't seen your wife and dog and kids, and you finally go to sleep and you're up again and doing it again. It takes a toll on your body after time and beating and banging in the truck. Nothing against, paper's not here. Nothing against today's generation. They're not built like old generation. You know, they're not dedicated. They're not loyal. They're not going to push their body till it breaks. They need their 10 hours of sleep. And
I was wondering as much about construction slows down if you have part-time applicants.
So we're still cutting trees, we're still patching holes, we're still,
Yeah, you are, but, you know, Radcliffe don't have as much, those kind of things.
oh, as far as truck drivers.
Are they available? Can you-
The only problem is you're throwing them in a $205,000 truck that you're skating on ice with 60 tons, and if they're not used to driving on snow, ice, and plowing snow, it's completely different than just driving down the road. So now you're replacing trucks and people at the same time. So it just, I understand, there's, you know, you and Brett and whoever else up there has CDL wants to come help, come on. But like we talked during our meeting, you know, people don't drive tractors, they don't drive trucks at 12 years old anymore. They don't drive any trucks and, yep.
That's how I learned. Any other questions? Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate all you do.
Yep.
So for the rest of the budgets on there, we're just going to go to the commissioner's budget and go through in order of the presentation in the book. So we're going to start, if you go to commissioners, we're going to start right there in the commissioner's budget. And Lori's going to do the first presentation.
Okay. Commissioner's budget, we are 068. The very first line item is for an intern, and there's been a little bit of a reorganization in the commissioner's office. They had discussed a project coordinator, decided that it would, to try to split the duties. I will have more project coordinator responsibilities, and Tom and I would share those, and we would use an intern for someone to do like public relations, help with projects. We think we can keep someone busy to do that. And then on down to the salaries, it's a 3% increase that was recommended. Should we just go through some, or do you guys have any highlight questions? On the HRA and HSA, those two lines, the amounts, we did reduce the HRA and increase the HSA. For the purpose of, we're proposing, the HR committee proposing to increase the screening for the clinic, increase that to $750 from the $250 it is now. That would put in $1,500 into an employee's HSA account if they're willing to go through the screening, and we feel that that's better spent than to, just better spent. That they could use that a lot more to help pay for those up front, since they do have the $3,000 they have to pay out of pocket. So we figured that would help them. Let's see. IV Tech, I did look that up, and IV Tech will be paid off in 2033. So we have 9 more years to go on that one. Yeah, I thought it was a lot less than that. I'm sorry? Sure.
If I got you right, you're proposing that you're going to start paying all the employees $1,500 a year in their HSA?
Well, they have to do something for that. They automatically get $750 right now.
Right.
Goes into their account, and it's not a $750 check. It goes in their paycheck, an amount that's like $20, $25.
It's a separate check.
$28.85 a paycheck.
Yeah, it's a separate check, right?
No,
No.
it's a separate deposit. It's a forced direct deposit into
Yeah.
HHSB, yeah.
And so what you're proposing is to give everybody theoretically a $750 raise.
Right, yes, if they're willing to do that. The reason we discuss that is because the HRA, not all of our employees reach that $5,000 point. So there were extra funds in that, so we thought, well, just to kind of experiment, and we discussed, we have an HR committee, and thought that was
I
something
think
to
it's
try.
an excellent plan.
Oh, good,
Try.
thank
I really
you.
do.
But you're not very happy
Well,
with it.
Currently, it's,
Generally, I'm not easy to get along with.
Well,
I'm
that's
grumpy.
what scared me.
He just looks that way all the
But I
time.
just think that, I just think you're
It
doing,
works, Gary, it works.
I just think you're doing a great service to the employees of the county. Because that could be a hardship. I mean, you got
That's
a family and they
right.
gotta come up with, what, $4,000 or $5,000?
Three.
Three.
And-
Well, actually,
Well-
actually five, and then they get two back.
It depends on if it's pharmacy or medical.
Pharmacy, right.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's currently $250 that they're getting if they do what do you call it?
I call it the screening. It's
The
just a
screening,
blood
yeah.
test, basically.
And so they're just increasing it to $750. So it was $750 for the yearly, and then $250 for the screening, and they're going to $750 yearly and $750 screening. So it's only technically $500.
Our insurance is not costing us more like most communities, and I think it's because we keep our people healthier. And they don't go to the emergency room and have big lasers or whatever they call them, you know.
Prescriptions, too.
Yeah.
A lot of prescriptions you can get for free.
And also, our insurance only went up 3% this year, and so we're also proposing that we absorb that so the employees' premium would not increase in 2025. And it did not increase in '24, and I don't think it increased in '23 as well. So we are, as you mentioned, we are trying to do things for our employees. The last couple of years, we've given premium holidays for our health insurance plan. I think last year, I think we did November, December. I think the year prior was December, and so we're reviewing that right now. We may try to see if we can do that again this year.
Well, part of the reason why I pointed that out was that's pay increase. I mean,
It is, but you can only use it for
employees-
medical. Right.
well,
They
everybody
can't go
has
out and buy a
medical.
Coke with it. They have
well,
to
at
use it.
HSA, there's lots of things you can use that for.
Yeah, but
it's
supposed,
not-
yeah, medical is the idea.
Yeah, but glasses,
Sure, exactly.
dentist, all kinds
Right.
of stuff like that.
Right.
But that ought to be promoted to the employees that,
Oh, it will
not
be.
only are, you're getting paid what you're getting paid, but there's
Right.
this health care. Because we've had a little problem with health care and the employees accepting that
Mm-hmm. Right.
it's decent health care. It's
right.
really good. I find it to be pretty good.
And this, it kind of gives them to where they have to take the initiative to do the extra screening. Some people don't want to do that. Well, okay, well, then you're leaving money on the table, so
Exactly.
you can't complain if you had a chance to do that.
Okay.
Okay. The Wellness Center, there's an increase in the Wellness Center. And it went from, it's an estimated of a $44,000 increase for the year. The city of Crawfordsville left our group, and they went with their own group, and this is what we've been told. And just kind of to give you an idea of what that increase looks like for us, in May, our Wellness Center costs were $15,433, and in August, they're $19,871. So that increase is showing up. It started June 1st. Of course, Wabash Valley, those numbers are given to us by the state. The public defender, the lease, he's asking for another office and storage, so I put it at the 25, hoping that would be enough to cover if there's an increase in the lease, but we have to work on that. And that's also parking spaces. And as Mark mentioned for our vehicle leases, if you go on down, I did put some extra money in there for a code enforcement officer.
Also on the parking leases, the commissioners did ask us to end the public defender's parking lease and have them park in the courthouse parking lot. However, because of the courthouse renovation this year, those spaces will not be available. So we are going to wait to end that agreement for those spaces until after the project's over, because we're going to lose, Mark just left, but I think 14, 15, 20 spaces for the contractor for the project. Also, in the budget, since Kelly's here, we can't forget to mention
Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly.
the budgeted item in 383 service agreements, and that's the $125,000 for the Early Learning Center.
Okay. Next one. Okay. The IT budget. Actually, when you look at it, it says the total 2024 budget was $285,400. It was actually, I just checked it just to make sure, it was actually $448,500 is what we budgeted for in 2024. So our increase is, however much that is, oh, I have it figured. That increase is $47,859. And a part of that increase is for the permitting software that we purchased for the building department, the mapping, health department, they're all gonna use that software. And so that leaves an extra $22,000 that we asked for. And we have a program of replacing computers. We were trying to do it every 5 years. We got a little bit behind because we had some other expenditures. So put some more money back into replacing computers. And we just kind of cleaned it up a little bit as far as what everything is separated out now. We did have it all bunched together, and I worked with our IT facilitator, Edge IT, to come up with what they think we also need for a budget.
So what'd you say 2024 budget? was?
$448,500.
What's our difference there, Mindy? Do you know?
$47,859.
Well, I mean.
I did that in my head.
I mean. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'll bet that's what it was. Yeah, I'll bet that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I about choked when I saw that. I said, no, that's not right. Any questions?
Okay, thanks.
CCD, Tom's gonna do that one. Turn on your mic. No? Are you next? Oh, okay, that's you. Innkeepers, yeah.
All right, as you know, you've been approached by the innkeepers, or by the Bureau to increase the innkeeper's tax several times, and
We asked John to present the innkeeper's tax budget. So John, since you're standing, can you do it for us?
so the big picture here is we have always seen potential in tourism as being a huge opportunity for this community to grow, get people here, get them back. We've tried to relay that vision to the Bureau for years and have had quite a bit of pushback over the years. I would say that the current Bureau Board is, and Jake's on the CVC with me, have really evolved in their ability to understand just how big this can be. We've asked them to, I'm saying we, us, because I've been here when they've come to ask you for an increase in the innkeeper's tax and suggested you didn't do it. You know, in my opinion, we've got money. Show us how you're going to capitalize and, and utilize that funds, and then prove it to us, And it never, in my opinion, never was the need for more money. It was a bigger vision and a bigger plan to get more people here and be part of the whole growth of this community process. I would tell you that we're as close to that as we've ever been. I've been on that CVC for 14 years. They presented us with a budget
this year, the Bureau did, that met a lot of the criteria we've asked them for years. Second part of their conversation, well, do you think we need to talk to the council about raising the innkeeper's tax? How about you do the operations, and if the CVC that controls this funding needs to go ask the council for more money, we'll handle that. And just focus on proving this to us. So we approved their budget. The ability to approve that budget was because we do have a cash balance. So their budget is more than our annual revenue, but we've got $289,000 cash in there now. So with next year's revenue and cash on hand, we'll be able to fund their budget. This is the first year Dan Taylor's been after us for a long time to put milestones or mile markers down the road of reporting, back to us. How, are you hitting these marks? Are you doing? Because I asked them the same thing. If we give you $500,000, I said, Jake Lowe's $2.5 million short. If we gave him $2.5 million a day, he probably couldn't. He doesn't have enough employees or equipment or all to spend it. So, are you going to be able to achieve what you're saying? And so, this is a prove-it year. If they're able to do what we all asked them to do, then we'll have that conversation, maybe even mid-year next year, about what an increase in revenue would be. So anyway, that's the budget. That's why it looks like it's way higher, obviously, but it looks like it's unfunded, and it's not. It's through cash balance. So a lot of times you don't see cash balances on those.
In their budget, are they gearing up for all the events that are coming down the pipe?
Yes, and part of that budget request was a big push for this new national race, and they asked for it in the budget, and we actually told them, how about you come and ask us for a special grant, because it's a one-time thing. Am I saying too much? It's a one-time request. Right. So, anyway.
So innkeepers on board this whole thing?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they are. They're actually excited about, the help they're getting today, and the Bureau's got a second staff person now that's actually not just a clerical staff, but out working as well. But yeah, I think they've got a chance now to prove to us that what they say is what we've always asked them to do for us. So, anyway, any questions on that? Is that more than you wanted? RDC
That's good.
volunteer?
That's okay.
All right, RDC just met today. 60 I've got. There are only 3 line items: contractual services, Economic Development Board, and bond payment, principal and interest. 60 is what I've got, page 60. Gary was there today. I wasn't quite back home yet, but anything that you want to add to this, Gary? Go ahead.
There's a lot going on out there in the TIF district, and RDC's got to pick up a pretty heavy burden to do that. So this budget is going to, it's going to get taxed at best, because, how can I say it, Indiana Water, they kind of backpedaled, and they were supposed to do all the expansion work, and they decided they just stopped now. But the expansion out there is not stopping. So we're having to do water construction. Wasn't planning on it, but that's the way it works.
Yeah.
So those kind of things are happening. Now, it's not a terribly bad thing. It's just taking more dollars than what we expected to do.
Yeah.
getting ready to sign a contract. Can I talk about that?
Yep.
We're gonna get ready to sign a contract about designing a roadway, path around the west and south side of Crawfordsville to hook up to Purple Parkway, Hart Parkway. I mean, it's futuristic. I mean, if we were gonna have a lane to do that, because there's houses going up, we wanna get ahead of the curve. We don't want business go in there, start building stuff, and everybody get things in the way, and then you can't get traffic through there. So let's figure out how we're gonna flow traffic now, before it's all interrupted, and then we'll build around that. That's kind of the concept. So Commissioner, or RDC has, in conjunction with Crawfordsville, hired HWC
Chris Ham.
to, which he's worked a lot for us, to do that work. And it's going to take 6 months or so, and then we'll have a concept about that. So where's this road proposed at? Well, it'd be
Skank connecting to Purple Heart Parkway at 47, and then extending from Ladoga Road all the way to Comfort on the east end. So you could basically go from Newcore Road all the way to Wabash Avenue.
So anyway, those are the, yeah. We're tight right now, like Gary said, the water project's more than we thought, but Jeff Peters has run the numbers 1,000 different ways, so thank God for him. But any questions on that? Thanks, Gary, for helping out.
Back to CCD. Tom's going to do that one.
Back to CC.
Page 37.
Tom, turn on your mic.
My mic is turned on. I call myself page. There's two page 37. So it's the other page 37 that says cumulative capital development.
The fund
Okay.
numbers are in order, if that helps, at the top.
The,
It's Fund 1138.
So this is the property tax supported fund that helps pay for engineering and capital projects. Few things we want to point out. We did increase funding for work at the landfill. As you recall, we had a landfill project this year to haul dirt there. That project was delayed. We anticipate that will occur next year, so we want to make sure that we have that budgeted. The next item you'll notice is we did continue to fund courthouse repairs. We reduced it by about $80,000. So while we are doing remodeling work at the courthouse, there are other things that may be occurring at the courthouse that we may need to repair. So we wanted to make sure we maintain some funding there. And the next item I need to bring up, because Mindy brought this up, is the community crossing project. You see that funded at $450,000. Because of our cash flow in CCD will not support that full amount. So we're going to have to look at where we can pull this from, and we'll work with Mindy and Jeff Peters on funding sources for that. That is the Community Crossings Project line 41551. That's our match for Community Crossings matching grant. The amount that we can apply for increased from $1 million to $1.5 million. So that is why that number increased from $330,000 to $450,000. So we're going to have to find some other sources for that. So we'll work and get back to you on that.
But that's found money, so we got to come up with that, right? Because matching.
If we want to,
Yep.
if we want to apply, we need to have we have to have funding for local match. So yes.
Yes. Right, yeah,
25% our money and 75 theirs.
right.
And that's it for CCD.
EMS? Yes. Emergency Medical Services, that's the next one. That's Fund 1151. This is the agreement that the Commissioners entered into with the City of Crawfordsville. It's a 5-year agreement. It started in 2023, And the amounts for contractual services, that is to aid with a paramedic and to help with their personnel expenses. And then our share for 2025 is the $984,677. The next one's 1186, rainy day. This is for the wind contribution. We've done this since 2023, 24, and 25, and we believe it's a 3-year agreement, so this would be the last time that we'll be budgeting for that, and that does come out of rainy day. Then the next one is Riverboat. And there's 2 out of that with a Redevelopment Commission. They have the $50,000 for grants that they have been using for the CDC. And then we just use the rest of the long-term and short-term marketing. Okay. Stormwater review. This is the expense that the engineer used to do. So Banning Engineering, they do most of our stormwater reviews. Mark Vinyl is in charge of that. They do the work. He sends me the invoice, and I do the claim. And we neglected, so it will be on your meeting for next month, to appropriate any money down for 2024. This is kind of new for me, so that is going to be on your agenda to appropriate. It has cash in it. It's a cash deal. It's not county general. The next one, solid waste, 4020. Matt is on that board, and John. And it did not change. We just kept it the same that we had it last year.
Might tell what that goes for?
What it goes for?
Yeah.
The county, they left West Central, and they joined they made their own solid waste management. Matt, do you want to explain it, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Thanks. So, I don't know. Split off, so now we're doing the county with this, it's another project with the city. So in our commissioner's budget, we have a solid waste line item that we are invoiced through the auditor's office, then those funds go into this budget. The city also puts money into this budget. We both put in $67,000. And the main expenses is we do recycling for the towns.
Right.
Towns being the 2 schools.
All the townships, so like where it's at, North Montgomery.
Right.
Controls the Linden area. We added Darlington,
We added Ladoga.
Ladoga.
Right.
So
And,
it includes the South Montgomery, includes the one on Wabash there at Walden's. So
and,
it's
yeah,
basically all the recycling in the county.
right. New Ross, and then we also pay for the one in Wayne-Town, too. Yeah, so that billing comes through us.
Yeah, thank you.
And then also the Toxaway Day, that's paid, that contract is paid out of this line item, too. And the advertising for it.
How many did you have this year?
525 cars.
Steve, years ago, and you have to have this. You have to buy, the state says you have to have this. So we were in with a group back in the day, and they had a landfill.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there was tipping fees. So there wasn't as much of a cost because some of the tipping fees went toward the solid waste district. And then it's been split a couple of times since.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
And since there's nothing to raise money with, then this is why you have to have the funds to do this.
Yeah, Putnam and Park, they stayed in the consortium.
And they had a landfill.
The next one is for the government center. That's is for also the courthouse renovation, the bond, and for the government center bond, the lease payment and the bond payment. Self-insurance fund, we use that to basically in and out, when the money that the employees pay for on their portion of the premiums comes into this, then our portion comes into this, and it's kind of like a clearinghouse. Then also the admin fees are paid. This is the admin fee paid to, just forgot their name. Apex, yes, yes. the rest of them is this RDC for the non-TIF. So this is your 500,000. We already talked about it, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then 4859 is for the temper TIF, the bond payment. And that's your regular one. And then the jail bond that is now paid off, we have $1,500 in there to pay to Regions. We may have some leftover fees for that, but that bond has been paid off. Will be in December, right, but we don't need any money for '25, yes. Needed innkeepers. The Ready Grant. This is money that, an award from the Ready Grant Program, the $2 million, and that is shared with the city of Crawfordsville for the construction of the Purple Heart Parkway. And so this is only part of it. We really do think that that $2 million would be spent before the end of this year on the project, so we may not even have this budget next year, but we want to put it in just in case. And then the last one is the ARPA funds. And those monies are going to be used for, we are doing an ADA project on Binford Street, and then we'll be paying part of Purple Heart Parkway out of that and part of the courthouse renovation. And that's it. Any questions for John?
I don't care what you do, it's not my money next year.
Hey. Thank you.
Any questions?
Jake.
Y'all are seriously gonna let John off that easy on his last budget meeting?
He didn't take too much time, so.
Does it seem like all the grants and everything coming in like they told us they were, and everything seems to be coming in good?
Yeah, they are shifting some of the health stuff around. That's a priority now. But, you know, the first task force I sat on today, and listen to those folks, I mean, they're $3 or $4 billion of additional need for a state. They got their work cut out.
All right, well, we'll take this all under advisement. We'll crunch the numbers back again, and then with the pay committee, will come up with their recommendations, and then see if we can make this all work.
I just want
Got something,
to
Tom?
thank Mindy and her staff too for putting these books together. I know they were, had a lot of stress this last week, and they worked hard to get all this together for you guys, so appreciate Mindy and her staff for doing this.
Yep.
Thanks. Since you did that, we did receive a lot of offers to help. So everyone's been very kind, and Heather's team did the tabs, so it was not a sole effort.
We'll get you out of here in time to go see the Andels. So. Next meeting, September 10th, right here at 9 a.m. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right.